Welcome to Cloudcast, where you get an inside look at St. Cloud, Florida's local government. Whether you live, work, or play here, we're bringing you the information you need to better understand your city. Cloudcast is hosted by our communications team, including Maryemma Batchelder, Andrew Sullivan, Deborah Carson, and Jay B. Miller. Thanks for listening in to Cloudcast.
Welcome back, St. Cloud. We're glad you've joined us for another edition of Cloudcast. This is Maryemma, and I have with me in studio today two special guests. We have Jamie and Leslie, who are both from our procurement office. Hello, ladies.
Hello.
Thanks so much for being here with us today. And we've got something really exciting to talk about. We have a lot of great nonprofits in our community who are doing great work for a lot of different areas and filling niches and needs throughout our community and throughout Osceola County. So we're here to talk today a little bit about some training classes that the city is going to be providing in May for those nonprofits that are going to help them understand about how to apply for grants and get grant funding that can come in and just be such a vital resource for these nonprofits. So I know, Leslie, that these classes are going to be held here in St. Cloud at the Cannery Park Building. For those of you who may not know, Cannery Park Building is located at the corner of 9th Street and Virginia Avenue, real close to downtown, just a little bit east of downtown. So we're going to have a series of 4. Is that right, Leslie?
That's right.
Okay. And we're going to have 2 on 2 different days. And as I understand it, if I'm a nonprofit, I can come to one of those classes. I can come to all 4, just anything in between, whatever kind of topics seem to fit what I'm looking for, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay,
absolutely.
Great. So talk to me a little bit. I know our first 2 classes are going to be held on Wednesday, May the 14th. Can you tell me a little bit about what those 2 classes are and what times those will be?
So in the first class, we're talking about writing compelling grant proposals. So we're going to give you some tips on some specific words that you can use in your proposals, some common pitfalls to avoid when you're writing these, and how to structure your proposal.
Okay, and that sounds good. And I know from people I've talked to who write grants for a living, there's an art to this.
Absolutely.
It's not, I write news releases all day long. I can write those in my sleep, but please don't ask me to write a grant. I don't know. So it sounds like this class is going to be real helpful in just kind of teaching people the fine art of writing it, and like you said, kind of keywords to use and things that they can do to really kind of take their application, which is, let's face it, a lot of them are ending up in a stack with a lot of other applications for limited amounts of money. So we're trying to give them tools they would need to make their application rise to the top.
Right. So part of the art of this is tailoring your proposal to match the interests or the requirements of the grant, so it gives them a little heads up above everybody else.
Okay, and that makes sense because I know sometimes grants are sponsored by groups or organizations that are particularly interested, for example, in helping children.
Right.
So if you are running some sort of services for homeless, for example, you may want to focus your application and what you write in there on the services that you provide to families and to children and so forth, rather than focus so much on adults. So,
right, those are the topics to highlight. That's what they want to see.
Absolutely. Okay, great. So that program you said is going to be on Wednesday, May 14th, and that one is at 10 a.m.
10 a.m.
And it goes until noon, okay?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then that afternoon we have a second session that's available. And again, I keep saying, if you just want to do one, you can do one. You can do all 4. What's the second session that day?
So the second session starts at 1, goes from 1 to 3.
So we get a lunch break in between.
Yep.
I like that.
Yeah,
all
we have a
right.
short lunch break.
Plenty of time to run downtown St. Cloud to one of our amazing restaurants and get some lunch and head back to Cannery Park. All right. So what are we doing at 1 that day?
So at 1 o'clock, our topic is prospect research and identifying funding opportunities. So in this, we're going to show you how to work through all of the databases that you can find online to search for opportunities that match your needs or your program.
Okay.
We're going to help align the funding opportunities to your organizational goals and what you're trying to achieve,
Right.
and come up with some strategic approaches and techniques for establishing some connections with these funding opportunities and building a relationship with the grantors.
Okay, and that makes sense. And that's one of the things I think that would be intimidating to me, as obviously I would be a brand new grant writer if I were to do this, is just where do you look? How do you identify, how do you find these resources? So it's nice to know that there's going to be a class on that to kind of guide people, because, I'd have to rely on Google like I do for everything else, and something tells me that's not probably the best way to find good resources for grants. So
no,
it sounds like that afternoon session that day is going to be a great resource for people who maybe are new to this or just not familiar with maybe a lot of the places that you can go to find grant opportunities and see which ones align with your organization and its mission.
Right, and this is their opportunity to ask lots of questions. You can ask for your specific area, like you were speaking to children previously.
Yes,
so
yes.
we can help you on the roadmap to those opportunities that you can find online.
Outstanding. Okay, so that's our May 14th classes, and I know we're going to do another 2 courses 2 weeks after that. That's going to be on Wednesday, May the 28th. These are also at 10 a.m. and at 1 p.m. And 2-hour classes each. So, Jamie, you've been awfully quiet so far, but I know it's hard to get a word in edgewise with Maryemma and Leslie. So talk to me a little bit about that 10 a.m. class on Wednesday, May 28th, and what we're going to learn about there.
So, in this class, you will learn the components of effective grant seeking strategies. You will learn how to align your organization's goals with the resources that are available. We will also teach building and managing a grant calendar. You will also learn engaging with stakeholders and grant strategies and evaluating and adapting the strategies for continuous improvement.
Sorry, Leslie, go ahead. Yeah.
That's really important because grants have specific timelines that you have to meet and very important dates. So this is going to teach them to
manage the actual grant, to go through from the planning to submitting the application, the follow-up that comes with it, searching out the fundings that align with your organization to be effective in the community.
And like Leslie was saying, Jamie, I know this is so important because once you have gone to class number 2 and learned about how do you find these resources, like where do you pull all of this data. But let's say there's 10 grants out there that you feel like is a good match for your organization. So how then do you kind of structure your time and really kind of set up a calendar for yourself? Because people who have grants and endowments are very amazing people. They're philanthropic and they're looking to help the communities, but they have to operate on a timeline to keep things organized, right? So no matter what a nice guy you are, no matter how amazing your organization is, if your grant application's not in on time, sorry for your luck, but you're just not going to get considered that year, right? So it's extremely important to learn how to set up a calendar for yourself and get that organization to where you can actually clearly see what you need to do when and kind of back in from that deadline date back to where you are and build yourself a schedule.
And that's a great point, Maryemma. And not only is it for application submission that there's deadlines, but all the way through we have reporting deadlines. So they'll learn strategies also on how to stay with those deadlines.
And that's another great point. I think a lot of times we think of, yay, I got a grant and now I can do my program. And you forget that grant does not just get handed to you and they go away. You have to report on how you're using the dollars, your results and ROI, as we call it in my world, on how those dollars are being used and what the results and the impacts are being. And, I know if I was giving somebody $500,000, I would want to know how it was spent and what the results were, So, and that's a great point that you made. So thanks for bringing that up, Jamie.
All right. So, and then at 1 o'clock, we're going to do a class on understanding grant budgets and financial management. And this aims to teach our local nonprofits the principles of budgeting for grants, how to create that transparent budget and how to justify that in order to get the grant, financial reporting and compliance, because as we said, that's a major component of receiving grant funding is to meet those deadlines and not only that, but the performance requirements of the grant. And then we're also going to teach strategies for effective financial management and stewardship of the grant fund. So just to make sure that we are being effective with that grant funding.
And that, again, makes a lot of sense because, if you're going to give somebody a $500,000 grant, you're going to want to know that they have the financial management skills to manage that money and be able to track it and really show where it was spent and what you got, what results you got back from that. So it sounds like, honestly, as a whole, this whole 4-part series is going to just give our local nonprofits who take advantage of this so much information and so much more education. And I understand the gentleman who is teaching the course for us, he's kind of a national guru on these things, for lack of a better term. And this is going to be somebody that you can ask questions like we were talking about earlier. It's going to be interactive. We have kind of a casual, laid-back atmosphere for this. So you can ask specific questions to your needs. And Leslie, tell us the name of the gentleman that's leading the course.
Yeah, sure. His name is Rob Hogan, and he is with DRS Consulting, and he has over 25 years of experience, and he was actually an auditor at one point. So he has so much insight into both the writing and the compliance portion. He's very well-versed in nonprofits, so he'll bring a lot of expertise to these trainings.
Right. I was going to say, Rob's got a lot of expertise both in nonprofits and in grants and in governmental agencies, and like you said, for 25 years plus, he's been fully immersed in this world. So if there's anybody that can deliver great information and also answer questions specific to your nonprofit, this is the guy. So we really just want to encourage all of our local area nonprofits to take advantage of this opportunity. Again, they're offered at no cost at all by the city. And we're really just looking to kind of give our local nonprofits a hand up and help them to secure additional grant sources of fundings. They all have their operating budgets, but we all know there's always special projects and programs that you're looking to start. You just don't have the funding. And really exciting that the city is going to be able to offer this where we can help them identify where these grants are, who's offering them, kind of give them tips and insider secrets, so to speak, on how to write their grant proposals. And then, just on the back end of things, managing your budgets well and just demonstrating the return that you're giving and being able to provide that reporting out that these grant donors are going to be looking for. So,
right. And in the end, it's a benefit for our community.
Absolutely. Yes. And they say a rising tide raises all boats. And I think, the more we help everybody, the more the whole community benefits. So Great information, ladies. Again, this series is going to be on May the 14th and May the 28th. We have sessions both days at 10 a.m. and at 1 p.m. These are 2-hour sessions. Absolutely no charge to attend. Going to be at the Cannery Park building here in St. Cloud, which is located at the corner of Virginia and 9th Street. So we hope to see you there. If you go onto our webpage, and also, of course, watch us on social media, we'll be posting links, but you can register online. Again, there's no fee, but we would appreciate if you would pre-register. Just kind of helps us gauge how many people are going to be there, helps Rob plan, and helps us plan for the all-important snack factor. So we look forward to seeing you there. And, of course, anyone who has any questions can always give us a call here at City Hall and ask to speak with the Procurement Department, and they can give you some additional assistance. So,
absolutely. We're really excited, so please join us.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Well, ladies, thank you so much for being in studio with us today.
Thank you.
Now, Jay, you've been real quiet this whole time.
Well, I'm just taking it all in, really, because there is a lot in the grant process to absorb. It's, sort of like an onion. There's like a lot of layers to it.
Yes.
The one thing that I'll say, observation, in listening, AI and those type of things, that's all that's the big buzz these days. Yep. But I would not trust AI to write a grant for me after listening to what you guys are talking about. Like, make a prompt. Write me a grant. And you want to hear this guy. He's like, sounds like he's going to be like the the inside scoop on what's going on with grants.
Rob is definitely going to trump anything AI can do for you.
Absolutely. Now, I do have one final question. I've been known to ask the hard-hitting questions once in a while, and so you guys aren't going to be able to get out of here without that.
Uh-oh. All right, we're ready.
Take it easy on us.
So, will there be snacks at the workshop?
There will definitely be snacks.
Okay, wow.
Procurement
All right.
grants were known for snacks.
Okay, all right. Well, see, that sometimes you can judge how a workshop's going to go by the snacks that get put out. So,
And
right there.
And if you've got snacks, you don't want to miss it, right?
That's right.
That's right.
That's right.
Jay, we appreciate you asking the hard-hitting questions of all of our guests. That's amazing. Appreciate your being
Yeah, we
here.
love it.
Well,
Throwing
somebody's
that
got to
in.
do it.
Somebody's got to be
Yep.
that guy. Maryemma's the good one.
Yep,
You're the,
right,
you're
right.
the,
Yeah,
you're
good
the
cop, bad
tough
cop.
question guys. So,
Yep.
well, ladies, again, thank you so much for being with us in studio today. Thanks for sharing this information with us. So, St. Cloud, if you are associated with a not-for-profit agency, if you know someone who is, you're just familiar with one, again, we've got so many great not-for-profits in our community and in the surrounding areas. Help us spread the word about these free upcoming education sessions. I think they're going to be extremely valuable for those folks looking for grant funding. So, ladies, thank you again.
Thank you for
And
having us.
Thank
you so much.
St. Cloud, we will see you next time on Cloudcast.
Thanks for stopping by.
Thank you.
That's it for this edition of Cloudcast. Don't forget to like, follow, rate, and review, and we'll see you next time on Cloudcast.